So my name is Ted Holladay. I'm a graphic designer with a focus on branding. I run a design studio here in town by the name of Studio Holladay. And I've run Studio Holladay here in town for about 16 years or so. And just to kind of give a sense for some of the type of work that I do, I'm going to share something here. If you don't give me one sec, I have a couple of things to share. But I'm going to start with this real quick video that shows you some of the style of work that I have done in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. I do interior design as well. And photography. This book that you're seeing right now is something I will be talking about here in just a bit. So you'll notice there's a lot of industry types here, lots of mediums, whether it's online or print, um, and not really a specific style to the work that I do. I'm always thinking about my clients and their style and not my own, which can be hard to do as an artist. The old Wrigley building over on the west side, that's where my studio is. All right, so that's that. So let me switch over here and share something else. Okay, so let's see. The thing that I thought about talking about today is this idea of left brain, right brain. Being creative and then thinking about the business side of things has always been. It's a tricky thing for designers, I think, to like really capture in their lives and for one to understand. A lot of designers are introverts. I consider myself to be a complete introvert, but when I need to, can be, that extrovert that has to present or meet with clients, that sort of thing. But the thing that I always speak about inside my studio, like this is something that is in my email. Every single client receives. This is on my website. This statement: we are creative. Sometimes we're linear thinkers, forging a direct path between point A and B. Other times we're broken field runners, taking the audience on the scenic, uniquely memorable route. Either way, we deliver the destination, distilling even the most complex marketing messages into elegant outcomes. Or put another way, left brain, right brain, we maintain residence in both neighborhoods. I think that it's something that even if you're not that creative, you can bring the creative side of things into your life as well. So I'll actually touch on this more as we go along, but I want to jump into a case study and you'll see how it's relevant here. So I'm sure most everybody here knows about Martinelli's, right? It's sparkling apple cider, and it's sold in all the grocery stores. Most people drink it around the holidays. I remember drinking it as a kid. I drink it as an adult as well. They came to me. They're down in Watsonville, and they came to me and emailed me and said, "We would like for you to design a book for us. It's our 150th year anniversary, and we would like a coffee table book to showcase our history. And we want you to photograph it, document it, work with a writer to make that happen. Oh, and we don't have a printer either. We would like for you to find a printer so that we can publish this book." And so obviously I was extremely excited by this. I love the brand, would add to my portfolio without a doubt. And so I had to figure out, how am I going to accomplish this? Why did they contact me? Things in my mind, this project in particular fit me to a T, and it just worked out perfectly. I cannot say that. I can say that over and over. It worked out perfectly. So the reasons why it did is because I have all of these tools in my belt. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a photographer. I am not a writer, but I direct writers. So I actually found the writer for this book, pulled them in on the project. That was through my contacts. I managed all the printing. I found the printer. I went to the press checks, sent them all the files, everything that was needed. And I used to run one of my first jobs. Actually, my first job in this industry was working at a print shop, printing brochures and things. And then obviously as a studio owner, project management. So I had everything there in my mind ready to go for this type of a project. One of the first things I had to do was show them my capabilities to be able to design a book. It's hard to go into if somebody says I'd like you to design a website without having that in my portfolio showing websites. It'd be hard for me to sell them on that. Well, I've done books before for id Software, making of Doom 3 book, cookbooks, winery books, and calendars, and interior designers, and I've designed dozens of book covers. So it was easy for me to do that. I had that under my belt. And then I had to craft a proposal. My proposals will vary in length, anywhere from 3 to 40 pages, depending. And this particular one was 7 pages, very simple, with the cover, a little explainer about who we are, and then further about we are creative, and then clients that I've worked with, deliverables and the budget, my process, and a signature line. They signed that within a week. And they were talking to other designers across the nation, but they wanted to work with somebody local, which was amazing. So then I got to start on this project, and they have what's called their archive room, which had thousands upon thousands of photographs, old bottles, crates, advertisements, that sort of thing. I was able to scan or photograph all of these for the book, which was my first step. And I had some amazing old and new bottles that I had access to. Had to wear white gloves to photograph these things. Some of them, like for example, this one here, it's the only bottle that is in existence that they know of this particular um, cider that they had at that time. So I got to photograph their oldest bottles all the way up to their newest ones and all the different ranges. That was a pleasure to do. Then I got to dive into designing, and I designed 3 different design directions for them. And this is the one that they ended up going with, as you'll see on the next slide. So if you look at this, that's actually just a photograph of this wooden crate here that's been beaten up. That's why it's all smashed in like that. And the printing technique I used, we actually debossed all of that so that all of these indentations are real. You can feel it on the front of the cover, along with the words and all of that. So I went, all out with regards to the printing techniques. Showing the oldest bottle to the newest, all the different labels that they have, and this is just some of them, scanning, arranging them in the proper order, starting to tell the story of how the Martinellis came over, basically during the gold rush. And they have quite an interesting story, I have to say. I learned a lot. I probably know way more about the founders of Martinelli's than I wanted to, but I definitely do. They partnered with Coca-Cola years ago. They did a lot of Coke's bottling. A lot of family history. They got to work directly with John Martinelli, who's the owner of Martinelli's right now. They actually restored this truck very recently. It's all brand new looking. It was sitting for a long time. You got to photograph these large old machines. This one's an original photo, but these old large machines that sit in their store down in Watsonville. This right here is actually photographs of their 100-year anniversary. They put together a 100-year anniversary book, which is literally a scrapbook with photos and clippings taped and pasted into it. And opening up each page was just amazing to see all these old clippings in there. Letters, people writing in saying how much they love this juice. It's a remarkable story, actually. And so the design of the book, as the book starts, it has kind of an older design style to it. And then as it progresses, the typography, the colors, the photography begin to become a little bit more modern. And so the design of the book actually has a progression to it as it moves on. So this book, you're just seeing some of the pages here. There are 220 pages in this book, hardbound book, and they printed hundreds of them, gave them out to customers. They've sold them. They're still selling them today. This is by far my favorite project I've ever worked on. It has won 8 design awards for the cover, as well as the design of the actual inside of the book as a whole book. I believe I was paid. I'm always very open with regards to contracts and proposals and sharing and that sort of thing. I was paid roughly $120,000 to do this book, and that included my design time, project management time, all the photography, management of the photography, which I did all myself, and then the design of every single page. It's not a templated book. Each page has its own unique design to it. So how was I able to land a project like this? There's some projects that I see and I'm like, oh my God, how did somebody get that? Like for Nike or for, whoever it might be. To me, there's friends that I've had, they're like, how did you get this, Ted? Like, I don't even understand how you can land a project like that with that kind of money, that budget, and that kind of a name to it. It's not Nike, but it is Martinelli's, right? So I had thought long and hard about it, and some of it's luck, yeah, right. There's always that, but There's these three things that I saw and that I continue to see throughout when I land a project. Like I don't do any marketing myself. I don't do any outreach other than the branding that I do for my studio. But passion and talent are things that I have. Connections, and you'll see that I don't just mean the connections that I have, but the connections that I make. And we'll discuss that here in a sec. And then positioning, the positioning that I have done for my studio. So passion and talent, let's talk about that quick. When I was 16, I'm 52 right now. When I was 16 years old, I knew I wanted to do something in the creative world. I wanted to be a fashion designer to start with. Then I wanted to be an architect, and I found out that there's math involved in that. I was horrible at math, and I said, nope, I'm not going to do that. Then this new thing came out called desktop publishing, which is what we call graphic design today on a computer, that literally popped up. The Macintosh was introduced the year before, and I jumped onto that and have been doing that ever since. And I was extremely passionate about it then. I, for some reason, had this innate talent. There was no YouTube. There were no manuals even for how to learn the software. You just had to grab, like, the manuals back then did not show you how to use it. They just told you what the tools were. You had to figure out how to use the tools. And so I was self-taught, and I taught others. And then as I grew, I was learning from others, different jobs that I've been to, art directors and creative directors that have, taught me and brought me up. I'm 52 now, been doing this for a long, long time, and I still love it. So, with regards to like what you're doing, what you're pursuing as an entrepreneur, or whatever it is you want to do, during and after college, you seriously do have to ask, what inspires you daily. And what I mean by that is there's people who will play video games at night and do things on the weekend that are not pushing them where they want to go. I do none of those things. And maybe I do need a better work-life balance, but like what you see here kind of in a sense represents what my life is filled with. I have a beautiful motorcycle that I love to tinker with and ride. I have a Great Dane dog. I'm not showing my wife and my two kids here. They're obviously a big part of this, but they're woven into all of this. They know that design is a huge part of my life, whether it's working on the house that we have, a little mid-century modern house here, working in my studio, doing photography, learning from others, restoring an old sailboat, working on illustrations when I'm not considered necessarily an illustrator, working on design magazines for local efforts. There's just so much that I fill my life with. Like we'll walk through the grocery store, my kids will point out, "Oh, Dad, you did that, didn't you?" They're kind of nonplussed. They'll see potato chips that I designed. I'm like, "Yep, I did that." And we'll drive down the street and we'll see Betty Burgers, and they'll be like, "You did that, right, Dad?" But now they're older and they don't mention it anymore, but they used to. Yeah, so this literally is what consumes my life daily on a daily basis. So Instagram, I follow only artists, illustrators, photographers. I do have Gary Vee on there. I tend to skip past him a lot of times, but there's motivational people that I follow on there as well. But doing what you love and doing it constantly pays off over the long run. It really truly does. Connections, I mentioned that connections aren't necessarily about who you know right now. I do happen to know a lot of people in the area, and there's a reason for that. I have dedicated myself to Santa Cruz from the standpoint of there's a lot of brands around town. You'll drive by, like if you drive downtown, you'll notice that there's signs up that direct you to the Santa Cruz Warriors Arena, that direct you to downtown. I designed those signs, the city signs. I designed the museum downtown. I designed the library system for the whole county. from their logo to their brand to their doors to lots of different things like that. So I've dedicated myself to Santa Cruz and making Santa Cruz a beautiful place in that regard, how I can with branding. And through that, I've made a lot of connections, and I continue to do that, and I continue to be a connector as well. So when I say connections, it also means who you follow, right? I know, the whole online world, being able to follow and have connections is a huge deal. One I highly recommend is thefuture.com. And you'll notice there's no E in there, Futur. Christo and the Future, these guys are brilliant. They are all about teaching outside of the university walls. Basically, their goal is to reach 1 billion people, and they're on their way. Christo, who's this guy down here, he used to be an instructor at the Art Center, which is one of the most reputable design schools in the world down in Pasadena. And he left that to pursue this. And he's doing it full time. And I can't applaud them enough for the teaching that they do, the giving that they do. There's so much free content online. On YouTube, on their website, there's courses you can purchase, but the majority of what he teaches and preaches is free, and you'll find these channels, on YouTube. Highly, highly recommend you connect with this crowd. There's so much to glean from them. It's not local, but it is, a great resource. As far as like local, I would highly recommend you intern with somebody. I've had multiple interns at my studio that were either paid or unpaid, and the opportunity to be able to learn from whoever it might be that you're interested in, right? Seek that out. There's tech firms here in town. I could recommend them to you, right? Who they might be that you can learn from. There's robotics firms here in town. There's all sorts that goes on here that you honestly in the tech world that you most people don't know about. I have some nice insights into that because of the meetups that I go to. So like meetups is a big deal for me. I go to them all the time now. I haven't for a year. I run a meetup myself. It's called Design Santa Cruz on meetup.com. And sharing to me is a big key right now. Obviously through online social, whether you are sharing or you're gleaning from what other people share. So local connections, actual specific ones here. There's some local firms here on the left hand side that if you are a creative and you're interested in learning more or possibly interning or just checking out their work, these are some of the ones that I highly recommend. They each kind of have their own focus. They're not just graphic designers. They're not just about branding. Like Designed by Cosmic, they focus on social issues. And those are the only types of clients that they work with. Local resources, as far as meetups and that sort of thing, SantaCruzWorks.org. I did their branding, but highly recommend them for learning about the tech culture here in town. I've actually put out a magazine with them that talks about Santa Cruz's tech culture and lifestyle. We have 3-4 issues out of that magazine, and their website is great. It's a great way to connect with people. Their events typically will have anywhere from 200 to 300 people there. Everybody that's just as eager as we all are to learn, to connect, to meet. And I've met so many people through those groups. Santa Cruz Small Business Group, they're also a great resource. ChooseSantaCruz.com. That's put out by the city Economic Development Department, which I did their branding. That's a great resource for businesses that might want to open up in the Santa Cruz area. Great outlet for learning what's nearby, the laws, the rules, regulations, where to set up shop, how to do that. It's an amazing resource. Reach out to them, and they're great. They're great at responding. Then again, meetups, as I mentioned, that happens to be the one that I run, which is called Design Santa Cruz. It's on meetup.com. You're welcome to join that. Hopefully we can actually have in-person meetings here soon again. Looking forward to that. So I mentioned sharing earlier. Sharing is the trend that will stay. And how are you making the most of this? So like I mentioned Christo and the future earlier. In my world, the graphic design world, sharing used to be such a no-no. You would not share your insider knowledge, like writing proposals, what your proposal template looks like, pricing, tools that you use, how long things take, how to budget things. None of that stuff was shared. It was all kept very, very tight. That is not the case anymore. Like people share all of that information. I know what other agencies charge. I know what their proposal template looks like. I ask them for it and they give it to me and I give them mine. Obviously there's so much content that's being shared. So like that, being a part of that, I think sharing what you know and learning from as much as you can from, you know, what is available out there. Like I mentioned earlier, there was no YouTube before. There were not scanners when I first started. Everything had to be learned. There's so if I was starting out today as a designer, it would be hard from the standpoint of there are so many designers now, right? And so many people that want to be. It's kind of overwhelming. When I became a designer on a computer, there was nobody. There was barely anybody. And people were figuring it out as they went. So I kind of had that, you know, advantage to a degree. I had that passion for it. I pursued it. And it was easy from that standpoint. But man, today it's so easy to learn, to grow. If I want to learn about Photoshop's new tools, all I have to do is go and look it up, and there it is. It's easy to find. So, you know, glean as much as you can. You know, you guys are attending this right now. Boom, that's awesome. Keep doing that. Keep reaching out. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, this is going to be kind of short here, I guess. But I'm hoping that I can, you know, we can connect and I can answer questions that you might have best I can, you know, when this is done. But this is a big deal, sharing. If you have questions about something that you're, you know, in your industry that you're pursuing, reach out to the people who do it well. Ask them questions. I'm telling you, they will share. Gone are the days of holding things so close and tight to your chest. It is about sharing, and they will be known for that, known for sharing. So positioning, that goes to, you know, how are you positioning yourself in your work, or, you know, or yourself, and what it is that you do. You know, I am a graphic designer with a focus on branding. And so, you know, that kind of comes easy to me from the standpoint of it's easy for me to talk about branding visually. It's easy for me to show it. And I do that through my portfolio. Your positioning also speaks to what kind of industry knowledge do you have about the industry you're pursuing? And then client knowledge, specific clients that you're pursuing within those industries. Because those are, you know, different things. Like just to talk about like your brand and its positioning. My brand, as I mentioned, that left brain, right brain thing, this is my homepage. That's right at the top of my page. Sitting right on top of a painting by a famous local photographer or painter. And that is my statement right there. But then, you know, I do go into that, you know, we're creative, but then our clients are creative, the people that we work for. And then, you know, what makes our studio different? We are creative, we're responsive, and we're knowledgeable. So those three things right there are the three things that I tell clients, and those are the things that set me apart. I am knowledgeable about what it is they're asking about. I'm very responsive. If they message me, email me, I get back to them immediately. They know that they're going to talk to me. They're not talking to a big agency. It is just me, right? I've had, you know, employees in the past, up to like 8 employees in my studio, but I actually prefer it with just myself when I can find the right freelancers to bring in. But I'm very knowledgeable, responsive, and creative. And those are the things that I find my clients respond to. And so that's in a sense my positioning, but it is again built around the left brain, right brain concept. And then positioning my portfolio, how you showcase your work, showcase what it is that you're trying to promote is key. So these are just screenshots from my website, how I curated my website, how I talk about my website, my pieces that I've done, industries that I've worked in, that sort of thing. And so, I mentioned about knowledge earlier, putting yourself in your client's shoes and understanding your industry and understanding your clients within those industries. So, for example, I do a lot of work with Dell, the computer company, and I work for their partner division. And the thing that the thing I literally have to do is to make my client, which is one person who's in the marketing department of the partner division, I have to make him look good. Like that is what I have to do. So if I accomplish that through the design work, the storyboards that I do, and then the video work that I do on the videos that I do for them, he looks good internally at Dell. His boss applauds him, and therefore he's going to bring me back in because he wants to look good again. In the corporate world, that is literally key. I've worked in the corporate world as a creative director before for McGraw-Hill and some others, and looking good internally is such a big deal. So I all the time put myself in my client's shoes, like literally, specifically their shoes, so that I understand what it is they're looking for, their target, their audience, and not push my own agenda, not push my own style, my own whims. It's what do they need, and how can I make them look good? And I seem to accomplish that. So just as a quick recap, and again, as I mentioned, this is maybe a little short here, but I do want to jump back to this just to remind, I'm not going to necessarily read it again, but I feel this applies to whatever it is that you want to pursue in your career, in college, after college, is the whole left brain, right brain thing. Like working within both neighborhoods, I have to work creatively all day long, but then I have to switch gears and work on proposals and figure out the right messaging strategy and figure out how to reach people. And so I have to wear both caps there, and it's not necessarily one or the other. It's both. Being a very business-minded designer, I think, is what has made me successful, and what I'm hoping will continue to make me successful. So yeah, that's my presentation that I have today, and I hope that I don't know, I hope that informs you to a degree. But I would love to hear questions and thoughts, anything at this point. So I am all ears.
So please feel free to unmute yourself to ask Ted questions. And I mean, I hope this can be a lively conversation. You have him, and he has a lot of experience, and I'm sure all of you have things you're pursuing in your life that you'd like to figure out how you might be helped by his knowledge. So go for it.
I have a question. My name is India, and I actually do want to go into graphic design after I got out of college. And I'm just wondering, what would you recommend to get started? Like right now, I'm working on social media for one of the clubs on campus, so I'm doing that right now. But what would you recommend to get started, like doing my own designs and making a portfolio?
Yeah. So, okay, I have interviewed hundreds of graphic designers, whether it's through my studio or agencies that I've worked at or in-house. And I will tell you this right now, and this is true, in my opinion, across the industry. Your degree that you get, whether it's from the Art Center or UCSC or Pratt, some of the better design schools, it kind of doesn't matter. The thing that matters is your portfolio. It really does. So I highly recommend people who don't have, the biggest portfolio to literally just build your portfolio. So what I mean by that is like, take, I don't know, is there a brand that you like that you think could be redesigned? Like a juice, redesign a juice bottle label and put that in your portfolio, and then think of another firm. And I started this thing. As I mentioned, I'm very intrigued and interested by Santa Cruz. I started this website years ago called Impact 831, and I haven't touched it in 5 to 8 years. But I just noticed new businesses popping up around the area that were doing something different. There's a store downtown called Stripe that opened up. There's a place on the west side called El Salchichero. Betty Burgers came out. Different wineries opened up. And I just called them up and said, hey, I'm noticing this thing. I have this website called Impact 831. Can I photograph you guys in your shop and just document it and put it up on this website? And you can have the photos to use. And I didn't charge them anything. It was just something I wanted to do as a personal project. They all agreed. Verve was only had the one place on 41st Avenue. Now they're like across the globe. They have places in Japan and LA. They're like all over the place now. And I photographed them at their initial spot. All of those brands that I photographed, they used my photos for years. Verve used my photos for years to market them on their website. But I got to meet people that way. And then they would call me up and say, hey, will you photograph us again? We'll pay you this time. Or, hey, I hear you're a designer. Will you design for us? So I just made those opportunities. I made fake, like there's work on my portfolio that's not real. I just said, I want to design that. And I do want to do more packaging. And so I'm going to design some packaging and put it up there on my portfolio. So that to me would be key is create new content all the time. Even like videos of yourself making things or exploring and teaching others, and don't, like, that's something I need to do. Like, I know that, like, I haven't dove into that. Even if you feel nervous or whatever, just literally do it and you'll notice that you're going to get better and better with it. Chris Do talks about that a lot. He's like, just start doing it. When he started, he was horrible. He was horrible at it. It was he and this guy sitting around a round table, awkward shots, weird angles, poor lighting, but it progressed and now the guy's making millions. Literally, he's making millions from shooting these videos, just teaching people content that he loves. So yeah, I mean, start just by making stuff and showing it to people, and create your portfolio on your website.
Thank you.
Does that answer or no?
Yes, gives you a lot of information. And just one more follow-up question. I actually did look into different websites to create portfolios, and I think I found one called I Am Design. But do you recommend any certain sites to create portfolios, or do you recommend a certain format or website to use?
Yeah, honestly, something that's really simple and basic. Like, I could let me pull up mine here really quick, just for the sake of like showing something. So if I'm going to hire a graphic designer, the thing that I'm going to honestly look at is their work. And so but I do want to understand where they come from, style-wise, when they do their work. So this is, I consider, a portfolio site. It's not heavy on process, and here's how we do. A lot of agencies will do that. I'm focusing on, this is who I am, this is why you should hire me, and here's the work, right? So like I literally I make this statement, I show some recent projects, you can click off to them, and you click off to the portfolio. I talk about how we are creative, and here's that statement, right? Left brain, right brain, residents in both neighborhoods, clients I work with. And then my portfolio page is very simple. It's just look at all this stuff, right? Look at all this stuff. And then some of it I will dive into my process. It is really good to definitely talk about your process, how you work, why you created this piece, what we did. That's right. It doesn't have to be long, but little notes about what you're looking at here type of a thing. So if I see a designer's portfolio site like this, it's very simple, just a simple grid of visuals like this. I love that. I like, if I'm looking for a designer, it's going to be somebody who understands packaging, or who understands web design work or logo branding work. I'm going to click on these because I can see that these are logos, right? I can see that. So understanding, what it is that you do quickly is key, in keeping it really, really simple. So this is WordPress. WordPress is simple enough to maintain, manage, and update. But yeah, there's Wix, there's all sorts of other simple sites out there that are great portfolio sites. Yeah. I mean, I personally prefer WordPress, I have to say. But you don't have to use WordPress. There's so many out there that work just like this does.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
So I majored in art and I since graduated UCSC in 2020. And I've been doing some like freelance and contracted like marketing work and artwork since. And I actually just completed an internship at a design firm about a month ago. But I'm 23 and I haven't really been able to find a lot of work because of the pandemic so far. But I've also been wondering, you're pretty successful at this, I would say. When would you consider your sort of career in design to have taken off versus just having a passion for it when you were young?
Yeah. Totally different times, like I mentioned, right? But it was like for me, literally, it was when I was 25, 25, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
I got a job at this may sound silly, but I got a job at a newspaper, and like for me that was huge. like especially in this industry, when they were one of the first newspapers to use a Macintosh to use as a design tool. They didn't design the whole newspaper. All they did was design ads, and we would print it out and they would tape it up the old-fashioned way in the paper. So that's when sorry, there's somebody at my front door right now. That's when I knew that I had kind of made it, and then from there I landed a job as an art director at an agency. Yeah, it was, I don't know, for me the making it thing was the satisfaction. Like, I had been a designer well before that, and was designing all sorts of things, and it was the satisfaction, I guess, of like somebody else recognized it and saw it and wanted me, and for it. So yeah, I don't know, making it today is a very different thing, because there's, like I said, there's millions of designers. So everybody's a designer, everybody's a photographer today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what is it that makes you happy? Like, I've done corporate jobs where it's, a high paying job, like almost $200,000 a year, and I'm designing, right? I'm designing ads and videos and websites and all sorts of things, but I wasn't necessarily happy and fulfilled. Like,
Yeah.
In my own studio, I would be working on a video, and then the next day I would be working on a branding, and the next day I could take off, work the hours that I want. It's scary to be on your own, but there's benefits to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I don't know, what are your goals in the end? When you say make it, what are your goals, I guess?
I guess one of my current goals is to try to have a more consistent income from work that I do. Just to have some sort of security in the background, because mostly I'm an artist, and I'm kind of going from art to graphic design and to marketing and branding. And so I've always gotten a lot of joy out of making artwork, but it's not the most profitable thing I've done so far. So I'm just kind of working on combining something I really enjoy doing with the consistency of getting to do it for a living.
Yeah. So do graphic design work, what have you done there?
Well, I've done some illustration work, and I've designed like a pamphlet for a friend's business and illustrated part of the children's book. And I've done some t-shirt designs, basically.
Yeah, like I was saying to India, is that correct? Yeah, like I was saying, like I was saying to India, like if you feel so, it I don't know, maybe to feel more successful, um, take a thing that you would like to design and redesign it, and start from the standpoint of the goals of the project, who the target audience is. Like, write all that stuff down.
Yeah.
And create your own case study from it, and make it something that would be successful in the market, but there's reasoning and there's a business mind behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you design a t-shirt, I've designed tons of t-shirts. I've worked at a screen printing shop when I was younger. It's different. That's designing a thing, right? Whereas you should need to try to get into the mind of the business side of design, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna just maybe just keep my portfolio up here really quick. Like I designed this thing that's a direct mail piece for Best Buy and Netgear. So it's not the most fun thing to design or most gorgeous piece in my portfolio, but people in the marketing world, in the real design world at businesses, know what this is. It's direct mail. You get it in the mail, and it's trying to sell you something, right? I've done so much direct mail, it's ridiculous. But there's design thinking here that uses the other side of my brain that makes sense around this thing needs to sell, right? This thing needs to promote. This thing has to be successful. And it was very successful in getting people to save $50 and try this new Wi-Fi device. So like think about design that way and pick projects and try to, create those. Then you'll start to reach up to the larger projects, the larger clients and agencies that you can work for. Short of like if I showed this to somebody within, let's just say Dell, they would see this and say, okay, okay, that headline makes sense. They're going to look at those things. It's got the product nice in front and center. This is on brand for Orbi. If they see that versus something design-wise that I'm more proud of, this shirt design, this logo, this is going to fall flat for them.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
This is a pretty thing that sits on a shirt, and it's nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Locally we understand it. This ties into war, fireworks, 100-year celebration. There's a boat, flags, like we get it. But the other piece is marketing driven and speaks to an understanding of that. And so showing people that you get it, that you get why pieces need to be designed a certain way, will take you very far in regards to like getting higher paying projects. Like this project here, the t-shirt that I designed was maybe $500, I think. I do really small jobs too. This one here, I think, was $3,000, right? Oh. So I'll do this, and for some people that's amazing, and like you can live off of that for a whole month, right? I can't, yeah. and I don't want to, right? So like this is something that honestly I would do in 2-3 days worth of time, amount of work, but it's scattered across maybe 2 to 3 weeks worth of time, because I'll design it, send it, revisions, changes, final files, prep it for printing, send it, that sort of thing. Doesn't take me that long to do, but because I understand what this piece is supposed to do, its goal, right?
Yeah.
That's what I say when I say, like, pick something to design that you know you can write a case study to, that you can say, I get what marketing is. I get what I'm in your shoes. I understand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, these are fake. These right here, San Jose Sharks. I wanted to do some advertisements for the San Jose Sharks, and so I came up with some concepts. And can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I came up with some concepts for the Sharks. They were actually looking for a new agency, and I knew there was no way I could pitch them. I'm not really an agency in that regard. So I just came up with some quick concepts. Here's, their name is the Sharks, and I thought sharks and minnows, right? Everybody knows what that term is, but I don't even have to say it. I don't even have to say it. Just show it, right? It's what you would typically see a shark here in the middle swimming towards the fish, and they all swim away. And then they've been around for 25 years. And so to show a page that says 25 years on it, real small, right? 25 shark teeth. Just simple things like that. I put it in my portfolio because I think creatively they work. They're fairly strong. They show that I get things conceptually. They show that I understand advertising, what spreads are, what it means to be simple and clean and pure. A client will see this and get those things from just looking at it quick like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's a lot of good tips. Thank you.
Like this stuff here, masterfully, they asked me to do a logo. And so a lot of designers would literally just do a logo and show them, 5, 6, 7, 8 logos. I'll show a client 3, right? But I go beyond just showing the logo. I personally have to see it in context. So I work also on colors, whether they ask for it or not. I show it reversed out. I show it, what will this thing look like if it's embossed? These are just all steps that I took to show the client what this thing looks like. I then throw it on. They didn't want business cards. They did not ask for them. I, though, have to do that myself to know that this will work. So I took the whole shape of the logo and made that the shape of the business card and added some silver foil in there. I then said, okay, what would an ad campaign look like? And the face of mastery, I came up with that headline for the company Masterfully. They're all about teaching online. So I came up with all these different options, and it was quick for me to make these mock-ups. These 3D Photoshop mock-ups are easy to find. And so these are the 3 options that I showed the client, along with some more mock-ups beyond these. But they then get the sense that Ted gets this. Ted knows what branding is. I would love to do all of this. Ted, will you make me cards? Yes. I will now charge you I will now charge you for me to design cards. You want an ad campaign? I will now charge you to do this ad campaign. Like, I don't give it to them for free. This is just literally for them to say, I like that logo, because that logo sings when it's on paper like that. That logo looks good embossed on paper, right? They get it at that point.
So Ted, just a little recap for me, just so that I'm processing what you're saying, is that you kind of found what you wanted to do and you started learning about it and teaching yourself. And then not only that, is that you started going out of your way to just do it. So like you were saying that you'd go somewhere that just interests you and you'd be like, hey, can I take some photos for you?
Yeah.
And so that kind of, like you say, creating your portfolio and also gaining experience, because regardless, that's what it comes down to. And what you're showing us is that your experience is there. And so doing jobs and anything from free to hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's the range that we should be looking for, right?
Yeah. Like, this is the Impact 831 site showing on my portfolio. I did some advertisements for it. So I was trying to promote it at one point. The site's really, really old. I haven't touched it in a long time, but there's Verve in here, Cameron Marks over on the west side, different vineyards, architects, and that sort of thing. I ran some full-page ads in the magazine, Edible Monterey Bay magazine. I don't know if you guys know about that. It's a great foodie magazine. But it's a nationwide magazine. The one here locally is called Edible Monterey Bay. There's one called Edible Brooklyn. There's one Edible Chicago, right? My ad campaign that I designed for this site that I just made up on a whim because I wanted to document the stuff for myself, won Best Ad Campaign Series nationwide. Out of every single ad that was placed in all of the edible magazines nationwide, just because I had a passion for it. And that recognition right there, getting that award, I mean, come on, how brilliant is that, right? Just for some little thing that I wanted to do. I photographed these for Verve. I emailed them and said, hey, I'm doing an ad. It'll be for free for you guys. Can I ask you a couple questions? And they answered them and I put them in there. Same for this place and same for Cameron Marks. And it won an award, right? I get to talk about that. I get to brag about that. And use that all from nothing really. And that's the passion and that's the commitment and drive, right? Is thinking up those things. And if you can't think of those things yourself, like get with somebody who can help. Like honestly, like I have friends that I do that with often. They like, dude, I want to do something new. I need to do something creative. Let's build an app. All right, do we have the right team? No, you know, like let's figure it out. You know, so yeah. Just fill your time with stuff. Fill your time with the thing that you want to do, creative or whatever it might be. Like here's something I did for Dirt Cheap, over down by the wharf. There's this mural that was up for O'Neill Surf Shop, where the first surf shop popped up. Did this huge mural that went along the wall. Here's Jack O'Neill. He's now deceased. Since this was taken, sitting in the crowd when they announced this mural. They designed this really long mural here and this plaque and did it for next to nothing because I love Santa Cruz. And the people who asked me to do this were O'Neill, the surf company, which I'd never talked to before. I'd never, ever talked to them before. Jack O'Neill's secretary emailed me because they had heard about me as a local designer, right? Because I put myself out there, I connect with people. Like the fact that I'm even talking to you guys right now is because of that. John reached out to me because we met. I don't even remember how we met, but we met somehow through some event, through something.
We met through Santa Cruz Works.
Yeah, Santa Cruz
morning event. Yeah.
Which I brought up Santa Cruz Works earlier as far as like great for meeting people. Even if you don't plan to live here locally, hook up with that. Hook up with anything that's local here. I'm telling you, it will serve you immensely. I don't know if you guys know this, Amazon is here in Santa Cruz. If you're like a big, the Alexa division, Alexa for inside cars, that division is here in Santa Cruz. There's so much stuff that most people don't know about. I know the guy who runs that, right? So there's connections is so key. And I'm not saying having connections is key. I'm saying making connections is key. Having that kind of energy. You guys being here today, right now, key, really is. Because I heard there was 60 people that looked at this. John said earlier, how many people are here right now? 5? Come on. You guys are 4. You guys are the ones. You guys are the ones. Was there anything else?
I have a question, like, so when creating like our initial portfolio before we really have like a name to ourselves or whatever, would you like suggest like more like variety or like a cohesive portfolio, or like, I mean, you have been touching on it a lot, but.
No, that's a good question. So so you're a designer, what kind of design do you want to go into yourself? You want to do app design, game design? Like, is there a specific thing that you're interested in?
I'm not really sure yet. Like, I do really like graphic design right now, but I'm still like just trying to figure out what specifics I want to go into.
Yeah. So when I started, it's still today. I personally don't want to put myself into like, I'm a book designer, right? I am a web designer. There's a lot of firms, there's a lot of people that do that. They niche in like that. I have to say, I kind of recommend that people do that now. It like now is the time for you to explore, and even after college, explore like, do you want to design websites for the sporting industry, right? Do you want to design ad campaigns for shoe companies? You know, getting pretty specific and then building a portfolio around that, you'll get recognition for that, and be able to reach out for you know, the kind of job you really want to get one day. If that's what I would do right now. Mine's scattered. I mean, like I've got a catalog in here, catalog designed for specialized bikes. I've got CBD water, right? I've got like it's a mural, potato chip photography that I did. Mine's like across the board. And there's a lot that would say that's such a bad thing. I personally now don't think it is. I like to do all those different things. But if I were to be starting from scratch today, I would probably pursue like strictly, I am branding and I focus on branding. And that means like logos, color palette, brand standards, guides, extensions, and that sort of thing, and where it can be taken from there. That is my focus now. I consider the Martinelli's book a branding project, without a doubt. But I don't know that I would be doing, you know, photography for magazines or designing a map for a magazine, that sort of thing, if I were to pursue that. So I think figure out. I'm not saying figure out today what your direction would be, but over time figure it out. So maybe it's exploring designing websites, designing logos, designing, you know, whatever videos, figuring out what that might be, so that you can then niche down and say, I am a packaging designer, or I am doing branding. It would be good to niche down eventually, but right now explore, because you can't necessarily, yeah. Okay, I have a friend who said I wanted to go and be a web designer. And like they hated it in school after a while. And they eventually said, I'm going to become this. It was something completely different, because that's where their passion fell. My passion is so varied that I personally can't do just one thing. But yeah, explore. And then eventually it will come to where you're like, this is the thing I'm doing. And then pursue that hard.
Thank you.
I know I kind of ramble a little bit, guys. I apologize for that, but it's kind of my mode of thinking and the way my brain works.
I had a question on when you've already told us how you make connections, and so when you make those connections, how do you maintain them and keep them throughout long term?
Yeah, I keep in touch with them. Like I go to events all the time. I go to events that I talk at. I go to events that I'm connected with. Um, I've spoken in town here, like at big events where there's like 200 or 300 people in attendance at the movie theater or wherever. You know, maybe 6, 7 times. And then I go to those events constantly afterwards, and I email them and I say, you know, if you need any help or advice on that, you know, reach out. And then I refer them to other people. I'll even have some people say like, you know, hey, I'm looking for a writer, or I'm looking for a this, and people will say, talk to Ted. Ted will know, right? So I become kind of a connector myself, right? So just stay connected like constantly, and I don't know, be in touch with the people, connect with them on LinkedIn, and truly message them and make like use them like really, like if you make a connection, use them like to your advantage, without a doubt. You know, I don't know. I hope that somebody here will message me and say like, Ted, can you refer me to this, or I'm looking for a job in this, or I need help with this. If I can't do it, I'll refer you. Right? It's literally how it works. That's what LinkedIn is all about, connecting. It's what all the sites are about. But doing it in person is a big deal, not just through social media.
Do we have any more questions for Ted? So Ted, I wanted to, first of all, thank you. I appreciate your time. And it's interesting, everybody, I sympathize with what Joey's saying, because just getting this to happen took me the entire fall to get off, because I had to get the support of people who said, well, why would this be a good thing to do? Try to involve other divisions on campus. And it's really interesting how hard these things can be sometimes, because people are busy. And I think that's the thing you have to realize. And I think what Ted really brought to my mind, and I think it's very genuine, is, he spends a lot of time in spaces that he enjoys. And so then it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like he's going up and trying to just make relationships so he can get something out of it. He's in spaces where he enjoys the people he spends time with. And then all of a sudden that just becomes a natural thing. We hit it out. We sat at a breakfast and we just started talking. And then I found out what he did. And I said, hey, would you be interested in doing, something at UC Santa Cruz? And then that just kind of went on for months. And then finally everything kind of fell together. But it wasn't disingenuous on either one of our parts. And he's just been very generous with his time. So it's like, everything I hear him saying is just so him. I've told so many people about Ted in our office, like, this guy's, he's really giving, he really cares. And so I think those are all things for you all. I dealt with enough UCSC students to know that you like authentic people, and he's very authentic. And that's why I wanted him to get in front of you all, because he just is. And as you all are. And I think that's one of the things I love about our campus. That students are very authentic, and they have their own passions. And though, like Joey, I hear you. It's like, there are things that I love, but I have another job and I do the things I love on my free time. I mean, that's just how I've chosen to do it, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't do it another way, because there have been moments when I've done enough work on the side that I'm wondered, oh, do I really need to do this? I just happen to love both the things that I'm doing, though. So it worked out. It's working out that way. So, but yeah, I appreciate you all showing up. Ted is right. There was like 60 something people that signed up for this event. And look, about 10% showed up, but that happens to a lot of events that we put on. We'll have 500 signups and 100 people will show up. It's pretty happens, but it's the people that show up that this is really for. The people that don't show up, we'll send them a video. They may or may not watch it. That's up to them, but you all really took the time. And I hope you took him seriously when he says, if you need help and he might be able to help you, to reach out to him, because he means it. And I think this is where a lot of students have to kind of get past that fear and saying, what do I have to offer? I don't know that he's expecting you to offer him anything just yet. Maybe there'll be 2 years down the road. You never know. But I think he plays the long game. It's like, whenever it happens, it happens.
That's right. That's so true. And I do want to reiterate something I said before. This time, in college and even after college, you may have heard this before. Don't get so overwhelmed with I have to figure out my career. If I don't know, I'm screwed. This is literally the time for you to explore and figure it out. Because look at me. I'm 52. I've been doing this for 36 years or something like that. I didn't explore, right? Thank God. I loved what I did, and I still love it. But there's so many options today. There just are, and now is the time for you guys to explore that and figure it out. And it will come, and then you're gonna thrive and you're gonna love it. Don't kill yourself on God damn it, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do right now. I even have to tell my kids that, they're 17 and 16 and 17, and I have to respect that too, because I knew what I was gonna do when I was 16, right? And I kind of sometimes think that with my kids, why don't you know what you're gonna do? Well, they're just little kids, right? So it's this is the time for them to explore and figure things out. So, yeah.
Yep. And the other message I really took from this, Ted, is that this, doing the things you love to do, even though, like he's telling you to do all these side projects, because hopefully that's what you love to do. Because if you don't love just doing things for the love of doing them,
yep,
when it becomes work, you're going to be miserable. I can just tell you, because I've done things for just the work, and I've been really unhappy. And then I started pursuing things that I loved. And then all of a sudden, it just doesn't matter how many hours I work, because I love it. It doesn't matter.
So true.
Well, Ted, thank you so much for the advice. I think everything you said was super honest and helpful, and it's super encouraging to hear both you and John talk about careers this way, because I definitely love what I do, but there's a lot of people that work more for the money that I talk to. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, thank you so much for hosting this. This was like really, really helpful. So thanks, John and Ted.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Don't forget, if you need to reach out to him, hey, Joy, you should be reaching out to Ted. I want to encourage you to reach out to Ted. All of you, all of you should be reaching out, and I, because like you said, it doesn't even, who's the one that was making YouTube videos?
Oh, that's me.
Okay. I mean, you don't know if Ted, I don't know what the work is, but Ted may know someone, like, well, how can I help? Might be able to help with that. You just never know. You don't know where these things go. So.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, I really appreciate all the things you were saying, Ted. Like that, it was, again, like she said, it was very encouraging and very very inspirational and motivating to continue working on my own stuff, as well as like exploring beyond my own horizons. Because I'm definitely at that point right now where, because I've graduated early, I'm still contemplating, okay, should I go for my master's? Should I like work the next few years until then? There's just so many directions I want to go. I don't even know where to start. But I think definitely when you were talking about the concept of exploration, that we're at the prime and that we should continue to like expand our horizons and reach out to people like you and like other connections and making those connections, especially. That was very motivating. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to chat with you, honestly. I've got some thoughts, I won't say right now, about masters and like your next few years and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
All right, awesome.
Ted, before we head out, where's the best place to reach you at or get in contact with you?
Yeah, let me just throw it in here. It's my email. It's in the chat. Ted at studioholladay.com, and that's my last name, Holladay. It's spelled differently, right? But that's my website, studioholladay.com.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, guys, that was fun. I haven't done that in a while. Thank you. Thank you for being cool and for being patient. I appreciate it.
And thank you, Ted. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yep. Right on.
Yeah, thank you a lot. This was really helpful.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.